All right, folks, so this week's course is called Spring Creek Golf Club. I believe it's golf club as opposed to golf course. And this is a really, actually pretty fun course to play, especially on a day when almost nobody's on the course. It is approximately 40 miles up west from Richmond, Virginia on I-64, just north of I-64. I'd say about 45 miles. It's slightly southeast of Charlottesville, maybe by 10 miles or so. And it is in a town called Zion Crossroads, which is on Route 15 heading just north of I-64 down there. And it's actually a course that I found on some internet website. Was like rating the top 100 courses in the country, or 150 courses in each state. And this course is, I believe it's somewhere around 27th in the state, Virginia. I'll put the numbers in the description to be exact. But the course is, I would say, yet another neighborhood woods course. It mainly is the same cut of cloth of many a neighborhood woods course, fairways and greens and so forth, in a lane of trees, sometimes with a row of houses on the side and sometimes not. Although this course was, I would say, old enough where there were some houses around the holes next to the clubhouse, especially number 10 and number 11 or 12, but and some on number 17, I would say, on the right side, definitely on the left side of number 16. But otherwise, the course was really kind of empty of houses. It was devoid of houses for the most part. You could see there was some construction going on, and I guess in about 10 years, probably much more of the course will have houses on it. But for now, I would say what happened is that the southern part of the course, which is closer to Route 15 at least, has some houses. And then what they're doing is, in this weird thing, they're going in and putting another set of houses in between the houses that were already there. So there's just enough space for some house in between two houses that are already there. And then they'll build every other house they were building on some parts of the area of the neighborhood. It's a gated neighborhood. And it's a lot like Lake of the Woods. Some of the houses are, very narrow kind of walk-ups and stuff, and some are nice, big houses. Nothing too ostentatious, but still not bad either. It's definitely an upscale neighborhood. But, however, unlike, let's say, the courses of Vinnitsia or the course I played last week, which I can't even remember, like the week before, it wasn't overly populated with houses. There were certainly some houses you could see through the woods because there were no leaves on the trees, and only one or two houses where you could see houses like right there. There certainly were some holes where there were houses right near the course or on the upslope away from the fairway. However, none of them were really close. None of them were really right there on the course, except for maybe 15. I think that's a par 4, and it's sort of a Z-shaped par 4, and there's some houses not far off the tee on the right side. But for the most part, for the overwhelming part of the course, it was pretty much not housed. There were not a lot of houses at all. It was a nice balance for the most part on it, and the course was really actually pretty decent. And I just happened to get lucky to get out there on a day when, let's just say, the week before I was going to play, it was supposed to be 50 degrees that day and sunny, or at least partially cloudy. And then 3 days before I was going to play, it was supposed to be 50 degrees and partially sunny on Tuesday and Wednesday. So I was torn of which day I was going to play, and I was still looking around to see which of several courses I was going to play. And then the day before, the weather changed to where it was going to rain in the morning and then be clear in the afternoon and partially cloudy with a high of 50 degrees. So why this course? Okay, this course I chose to play because it was a slope 151 course from the back tees at 7,300 yards. However, the second two back tees, they have a championship tee, they have gold tee, then they have black tee and white. The gold tees, which are the second longest after the championship tees, were only about 68.50. So I said, well, 68.50 and was slope 143 on those tees. I said, that's plenty difficult enough, but if they don't have the championship tees open, which is likely not the case in the winter, and I say this based upon the fact that I went and played Forest Greens and Potomac Ridge again in the last 3 weeks, and they did not have the back tees open. They had all the, actually Potomac Ridge was really bad. They had the last two sets of tees pushed up, and Forest Greens had the last tee pushed up. So I figured that they wouldn't have the championship tees open, and I was quite right, but they did have the gold tees at the back of the tee box. The thing is that given the length difference between the gold tees and the championship tees, which was about 500 yards, I figured there was a very good chance that the championship tees would be way back from the gold tees, and I was very correct about that. They actually did have one hole where they had the championship tees open, which I played, and that was, I think, 14. It was 13 or 14, but even that hole, the championship tees were like 150 yards back. It was a par 5, and it was 495 from the tees I played, and then you could see way back, back, there was an island elevated in the woods. It was in the woods that they had cleared out this path away from the tee box, and I took pictures of this tee. Those tees were at least 600, in my opinion, 650 back, but according to the tee box, the chart map, they're only 615 back, and they were way back there. So now the other tees that were interesting, championship tees that I didn't play, I think it was on number 16 or 15, where the back tees were across the road next to the green for the previous hole. You have to play across the road to get back to the fairway in which the tees box were. Some of them you couldn't really tell. They were somewhat there. You looked off the back and you could see that there was a rise behind you or something like that. Sometimes they were back 20 yards, sometimes back about 15 yards, sometimes back 30 yards. Every now and then back at least a good 50 yards, and one or two times they were back at least 100 yards back from the gold tees. So it was fun course to play for a number of reasons. It was not overly populated with houses. It was not flat. I was afraid of this. It would be a little bit flat. It wasn't too flat at all. The back side was definitely nice. The front side wasn't bad either. It was more flat than the back, definitely, but it wasn't really bad. It was sort of, a straightaway. I think it was like 4 holes out and then 4 holes back to the ninth green. So nice par 3s, nothing really long, except for the back tees. I think it was 175-yard par 3 on one hole, but still nice. But the greens on this course were very fast, even for a wet morning where it had been raining significantly. You could see that there was wet spots in the middle of the fairway, but the course was very well drained. The greens were almost entirely dry. It had stopped raining by the time I got to the course, which I got there. I had 10:30 tee time, got there, and it had stopped raining. But man, the ride down there, I tell you, it was not fun. Going down 95, and it was right above freezing, and the roads were wet. It was drizzling a little bit. There was all this rush hour traffic down there at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was very glad to get off 95 and I think you take 3 out from Fredericksburg, and then take that left at the sheets that goes out to I think it's Orange, Virginia, and then south from there down. I think it's 15. You catch 15 in Orange, and then you have to go through Orange to the next town, which is 15 coming down from. I guess it's down from Warrenton. Yeah, it's down from Warrenton. Then you go down 15, and it's 20 or 30 miles down there to Zion Crossing, and then you're just maybe 2 miles or 3 miles north of 64 at that point. It was not a good drive that morning, and I knew that the morning waking up, the roads were wet, and getting out on the highway, it was right on the edge of icy and on the edge of sleeting, and you're out there doing 70 miles an hour and that stuff. That was not fun, but persevered, got there without any incident. And while it was raining off and on the way down there, it was actually raining until about 5 miles before I got to the course, on versus off. Got to the course, didn't have any problems. It wasn't raining there at all, but it was cold. It was still quite cold there. And you go to the clubhouse there, and the first thing you see when you go down to the carts to get your carts is this nice hole, number 18, that runs along the side of a lake. It's a classic kind of shape, classic design, but they did it really well. It's multi-tiered, and the green is a sort of off to the left off the fairway, so it curves around to the left. It's a lot like, I don't know, I would say many holes that I've seen like this that have a lake on one side. There wasn't a hole on the other side. That was all wooded area, but the one side where the hole was, number 18, it was really nice. And the fact is that I played the whole front side. There were only 2 other people behind me. I let them pass me on the 6th or 7th hole, and I had no one that I had to worry about on the backside. Everybody was ahead of me, so I got to play the diabolical, I mean quite seriously, diabolical 16th hole, and it took me about half an hour to play that hole, let's put it that way. Hitting mini balls, going out and finding mini balls, then hitting another mini balls towards the green and going down to the green and playing those balls. Then I went to 17, and 17 is this short par 3. It's about 150 yards from the tees at the gold tees, and 18 step up, and there's, this really nice hole hitting out. And I had a lot of fun playing this course. I really played the hell out of it. I had a great time. The clubhouse was really nice. Didn't quite have a really, outstanding restaurant in it, but it was nice. It was certainly nice bar, sort of sports bar, and it had a nice pavilion and stuff around that, and a pavilion on the outside, and a very nice place, nice people, very friendly people working there. And the only thing I think I would really have changed about it was it had gas carts, and the gas carts were quite loud, surprisingly loud, and it would have been a nice course for electric carts, but at the same time, because it does have it's not anywhere near as sloped as some of the other courses that I played lately, where you're taking these, like safaris off in the woods between holes. This was a pretty steady, meandering kind of place. It had some elevation changes, no more than about 50 feet, I would say, from one end of the hole to the other. But it was nice. It was certainly fun. It was definitely challenging, and it was definitely enjoyable. And I would give this course a B+ as a neighborhoods wood course, which for me is like at the top or right at the top of a neighborhoods woods course. I'm really not going to give a neighborhood woods course more than a B+. It just doesn't have the ambiance. Houses, holes, almost ubiquitous hole with a road behind it, elevated, and you're playing into the green and there's a road behind it, or a road right behind a tee box or something. And it's not a big neighborhood, and it's not like it was super busy, but it's not like it's a sparsely populated neighborhood either. And I can see on the weekends it would be fairly busy, but at 11, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday, it was okay, decently quiet, and it was nice. I would say it was one of the more fun rounds on one of the more fun courses that I have played in the last month. Certainly not as challenging as the club at Vinnitsia, certainly not as challenging as Verdict Ridge. It was also not as wide off the tee box as the club at Vinnitsia, or as silly on a number of holes as Verdict Ridge, which I believe is in Kentucky. So it's really not. It doesn't really play into this. North Carolina, one of the two, doesn't really play into the same mindset. I mean, it's a while away from this course from Charlottesville. I was thinking about playing Tobacco Road this weekend, and I was like, nah, I don't want to drive 5 hours down there to play it. And I certainly would not have wanted to drive 5 hours in that weather to play it. And I was glad that it was only an hour and a half from DC. Probably about 2 hours from downtown DC to get to this course. It's not like a simple drive to get down to 64. You do have to go, Richmond and then west, or you have to go to Charlottesville and then east, or you take these back roads through the middle, past whatever that military base is down there. I forget it. Not Occoquan, but Quantico. Yeah, you can drive west of Quantico and go down there, but that means a lot of back roads. Or take 15 or whatever. It's just not an easy thing to do to get in the center of 64. It involves a solid 2 hours of driving from DC. But if you're west of DC on 66, or you're south of DC on 95, that takes an hour, at least in a half an hour off that drive, and then it's not so bad. So if you're really like right on 95, it's nice because you come down a whole chute down 95, you get to pass a bunch of really good courses and get down there, and then you get to Richmond, and then there's a bunch of really good courses around Richmond, and then you go out to Charlottesville, and there's some really nice courses out in Charlottesville, or in the Charlottesville area, and this course is one of the nicest, but still a neighborhood woods course, and therefore it is good, but only so good. I can't say it is a great course, but it is definitely a good course. So that's Spring Creek in Zion Crossing, Virginia, and a solid B plus rating. I probably would have only given it a B if I had played it on the weekend with a lot of people and a lot of traffic. And it is not an easy course. It is definitely not easy. I wouldn't say it's super hard, but by the same token, this is the only course I've seen that's a 150 course, that's a public course that you can actually, that anyone can walk on, get on. Other than a course like Bethpage, or some of the really exclusive golf club courses in North Carolina, along the North Carolina-Virginia border up in the mountains. You see some there. It is really hard to find a public course that's rated in the 150s. And for that reason, I have to commend it. Even from the gold tees, from not quite the back tees, it was still a 140, 142 course. And it was definitely a decent course, not something like Verdict Ridge where you have all these whoops and swales in front of the green to stop people from rolling balls up on the green. If you don't chip to the green, it's not going to go because the swales are going to bat it back. And the greens were, at Verdict Ridge are really small, always with some serious hazard, like a lateral hazard or a tree or something right next to them, and just devilish greens. This course was not that hard in that sense, but it wasn't easy. It was a solid course, a fair challenge, not really long, not really easy, a good player's course, not something where you had to be able to hit 300 yards to play this course in par, but again, not something where you're going to just walk on it and shoot par if you're a casual golfer. I would say it was a legitimately 100 bogey course or 140 slope course, definitely.